In this
Welcome to True
episode,
Crime
we
Case
travel to
Files.
Lakeland,
Today's episode
Florida,
takes us to Lakeland,
during the
Florida,
summer of
in
2015.
early June of 2015.
It's the
This is the story of a
heartbreaking
kind,
story of a
selfless
compassionate
whose life
nurse
ended
whose
in an
life was
unimaginable
tragically
act of
cut
violence.
short by a
Angela Barrett
senseless
was
act
38
of
years
violence.
old and lived in Lakeland,
Angela
Florida.
Barrett,
She worked as a registered
38,
nurse at Lakeland
was a
Regional
resident
Health,
of
where she was
Lakeland,
admired for her
Florida,
kindness and skill.
and worked as a
Angela
registered
was deeply
nurse at
involved in her
Lakeland
community,
Regional
volunteering
Health.
at the Agape Food
She
Bank
was
and
well
teaching
known
Sunday
for her
school at First
compassion and
Baptist Church.
expertise. Outside
She
of
had
her
a
job,
warm
Angela
smile and a
dedicated
giving
much of her
heart,
time to her
which made
community,
her well-loved
volunteering
by
at the
everyone who knew
Agape
her.
Food Bank and teaching
Angela's
Sunday
life
school
revolved
at
around
First
helping
Baptist Church.
She married Michael
Angela
Barrett,
had a
her
bright
high school
smile and a
sweetheart,
generous
in
spirit,
1997,
which made
right
her
after they
beloved
graduated
by
from
all who
Catholic
knew
high school.
her.
The couple seemed
Her
like a
life was
perfect
centered
match.
on caring for others.
They often attended
In
Lakeland Tigers
1997,
baseball
shortly
games
after
and spent
graduating
weekends
from
walking
Kathleen
through
High
Hollis
School,
Garden.
she
For
married
almost
her
2
high school
decades,
sweetheart,
Angela
Michael
supported
Barrett.
Michael through good
The
times
couple
and
seemed
bad.
like a
In
perfect
2014,
match.
Michael was
They enjoyed
diagnosed with
simple
kidney
pleasures
failure.
together, such as
Doctors warned
attending
that he wouldn't
Lakeland
survive
Tigers
without a
baseball
transplant.
games and
Without
taking
hesitation,
weekend
Angela
strolls through
donated one
Hollis
of her
Garden.
kidneys to save his
For
life.
nearly 20
Her coworkers
years,
and friends
Angela
at the
stood
hospital
by
called her
Michael,
a hero.
offering her
And a story about her
unwavering support
selflessness
through
even
both the
appeared in
good
Ledger,
and
Lakeland's
challenging
local
times.
newspaper.
In
But Angela's happy life
2014,
soon fell
Michael
apart.
was
Just
diagnosed
6
with
months
kidney
after his
failure.
recovery,
Doctors
Michael filed
warned
for
that he
divorce.
wouldn't
He
survive
cited
without a
irreconcilable
transplant.
differences.
Without
But friends
hesitation,
close to
Angela
said she was
donated one of her
heartbroken.
kidneys
Michael
to
moved
save
out
his
and
life.
quickly remarried Stephanie.
Angela's
A yoga
colleagues and
instructor
friends
he
at the
had been seeing in
hospital
secret.
often referred to
After
her
the
as a
divorce,
hero,
Angela
and her
struggled to
story of
rebuild her life.
selflessness was
She
even
moved
featured
into
in
a
the
small
Ledger,
home on Meadowbrook
Laclane's
Avenue, and
local
spent her free time
newspaper.
volunteering and reconnecting with
However,
friends.
Angela's
fate
world
became
began
her
to
anchor during this
unravel
difficult
when,
time.
just
She led a
6
prayer
months
group at
after
her church
Michael's
and often
recovery,
said,
he
"God has a plan for me."
unexpectedly filed for
In
divorce.
early June of 2015,
Michael cited
Angela was organizing
irreconcilable
a food drive
differences
for
as the
struggling
reason for
families.
the divorce.
She spent
But
hours
those
designing
close
flyers
to
and
Angela
posted
said
them
she
at
was
local grocery
devastated.
stores, including
He soon
Publix
moved
and
out and
Winn-Dixie.
remarried
She
Stephanie,
also talked about
a
going back
yoga
to school to
instructor he had
specialize
been
in
seeing
pediatric
in
nursing.
secret.
A dream
After
she
the
had put on
divorce,
hold to focus
Angela
on her
faced a
marriage.
difficult
Despite
journey to
everything,
rebuild
Angela
her
remained
life.
hopeful.
Angela
She was finally
relocated to a
starting to find
modest
herself
home
again.
on
Her
Meadowbrook
friend Sarah
Avenue,
Tompkins later
where she
told
focused on
reporters.
volunteering
But
and
Angela never
reconnecting
got
with
the chance
friends.
to live out her
During
dreams.
this challenging
Just days
period,
later,
her faith
life was
became her
tragically cut
strength.
short. On the
She
morning
led
of
a
June
prayer
8,
group at her church
2015,
and often
Lakeland was
shared her
already
belief
warm, with
that
a bright
God has a
sun
plan for
casting
me.
light over the
In
quiet
early
streets.
June of
Around
2015,
9:15 a.m.,
Angela was
Barrett's
busy
neighbor,
organizing a food
62-year-old
drive to
Ronald
support
Pierce,
families in
decided
need.
to check on
She
her.
spent
He
hours
hadn't
creating
seen Angela in
flyers
2
and
days,
placing
which was
them in
unusual.
local
She was
grocery
usually up
stores
early,
like
tending
Publix
to her
and
small
Winn-Dixie.
garden, or heading out to work at Lakeland
Angela
Regional Health.
also began
Ron
talking
knocked
about
on Angela's
returning to
front door on
school
Meadowbrook
to pursue
Avenue,
her
but
dream
there
of
was no answer.
specializing in
At
pediatric
first, he
nursing,
thought she might have
a
left
goal
early
she
for
had
her
set
volunteer
aside
work at
during
the
her
Agape Food
marriage.
Bank.
Angela
But then
held
he
on
noticed
to
a car,
hope.
a silver Toyota Camry, parked in the driveway.
She was slowly
Concerned,
rediscovering
he peeked through the
herself,
front window
as her
and
friend
saw
Sarah
something
Tompkins
alarming.
later
The
shared
living
with
room looked
reporters.
messy, with an
Unfortunately,
overturned chair and a
Angela
dark
never had the
stain on the
chance to
carpet.
see her dreams come
Feeling
true.
uneasy, Ron
Just
called
days
Angela's phone,
later,
but it went
Angela's
straight to
life would be
voicemail.
tragically
He decided
ended.
to go around to the back of the house.
On the morning of
There,
June 8,
he found a sliding
2015,
glass door partially
Lakeland
open.
was already
Nervously, he
warm,
stepped
with the
inside
sun
and
shining
immediately
down on
smelled
the
something
peaceful
foul.
streets.
As he entered the
Around
living room,
9:15
Ron
a.m.,
froze in shock.
Angela's
Blood was
62-year-old
splattered
neighbor,
across the
Ronald
walls,
Ron
and the scene
Pierce,
was eerily
decided
quiet.
to check on her.
Ron didn't look any
hadn't
further.
seen Angela
He
for
stumbled
2
back
days,
outside shaking
which was
and
out of
called
character for
911.
her. She
There's
was
blood
typically up
everywhere, he
early,
told the
either
dispatcher,
tending
his
to her
voice
small
trembling.
garden or heading
I
to her
think
job
something
at
terrible
Lakeland
has
Regional
happened.
Health.
Lakeland police officers
Concerned,
arrived within 15
Ron knocked
minutes.
on the door of
The
her
neighborhood
home on
was soon
Meadowbrook
cordoned off with
Avenue,
yellow
but there
police
was
tape,
no
and
response.
curious neighbors began
At
gathering
first,
outside.
Ron thought she
visibly
might have
shaken,
left
sat on the
early for
curb,
her volunteer
answering the
work at
officers'
the
questions.
Agape Food Bank.
Inside the house,
But when he
officers
saw her
found
silver
evidence of a
Toyota
violent
Camry
struggle.
parked in the
Blood
driveway,
trails led from
his
the living room
concern
to the
grew.
kitchen, but
He
Angela
peered through
was
the
not
front
there.
window and saw
As
something that
investigators searched the
immediately
home,
worried him.
It became
Ron
clear
stepped
that Angela
inside
was missing.
and was
This prompted an
immediately
urgent call
hit
for backup.
with a
And
strong,
by noon,
unpleasant
forensic
odor.
teams were combing the property. The grim
He
discovery
peered through
came
the front
later
window
that evening, when part
and
of
saw
Angela's
something that
dismembered
immediately
body was found
hit
in
with a
wooded
strong,
area near the Lakeland
unpleasant
Highland Scrub
odor.
Preserve.
As he made
Just
his
3
way into the
miles from
living
her
room,
home.
he
The
froze in
hiker
shock
stumbled
at
upon
what
the
he
remains
saw.
and called authorities
Blood
immediately.
was splattered
Angela's
across
death,
the walls,
once a
and the
mystery,
scene was
now pointed to a
eerily
horrifying
quiet.
act of violence.
Ron
When
didn't
police
look any
arrived at
further.
Angela Barrett's
He
home
stumbled
on
back
Meadowbrook Avenue
outside,
on June
shaking,
8,
and called
2015.
911. There's
They were
blood
met with a
everywhere.
scene that suggested a
Ron
violent
told
and
the
chaotic
dispatcher,
struggle,
his voice
led by
shaking.
Detective Carla Jensen, a
I think
seasoned
something
investigator
terrible
known
has
for her
happened.
sharp instincts. Officers entered the home cautiously.
Within 15
The
minutes,
living room was in disarray.
Lakeland police
Furniture
officers
overturned
arrived
and
at the
blood
scene.
spattered on
The
walls and
neighborhood was
carpet.
quickly
The
sealed off
forensic
with
team,
yellow police
equipped
tape,
with state-of-the-art
and
tools,
curious
began
neighbors began to
meticulously
gather
documenting the
outside.
scene. They used luminol to
Ron,
detect blood trails
still
that were not
visibly
visible to the
shaken,
naked eye.
sat on the
These
curb,
trails suggested
answering
Angela
the
had been
officers'
attacked
questions.
in the living room before being moved
Inside
to
the
kitchen.
house,
A broken
the
glass
police
vase lay on the
discovered
floor,
signs of
and
a violent
investigators noted
struggle,
what
but there
appeared
was
to be
no sign
drag
of
marks
Angela.
leading toward the back of the house.
As investigators
Detective
continued
Jensen
searching the
described
house,
the scene as
it became
disturbing
evident
and
that she
deliberate.
was missing.
The crime
An
scene
urgent
wasn't
call
just
for
messy,
backup was
it appeared
made,
staged.
and by
A
noon,
framed family
forensic teams
photo
were
had been
arriving to
smashed,
comb the
and
property.
Angela's purse had
The
been
forensic
emptied,
team,
with its
armed with
contents
advanced
scattered across the
tools,
floor.
began carefully
Police initially
documenting
considered
the
the
scene.
possibility of a robbery
Using
gone
luminol,
wrong.
they were
But
able
nothing
to
of
reveal
significant
blood
value seemed to be
trails
missing,
that weren't
including
visible
Angela's
to the
jewelry
naked
and
eye.
electronics.
These
In the
trails
kitchen,
indicated that
investigators found
Angela
more
had been
troubling
attacked
evidence.
in the
Blood
living
pooled
room
near the sink,
and then
and a
dragged
large
into the
butcher knife
kitchen.
was missing from
A
the knife
broken
block.
glass vase lay
Forensic
shattered on the
experts
floor,
collected fingerprints,
and
shoe
investigators
prints, and hair
observed what
samples.
appeared to be
They also
drag
took note
marks
of a
leading
single
toward the
muddy
back of the
footprint leading
house.
out the sliding glass
Detective
door.
Jensen
By
described the
midday,
scene
the
as
focus of
both
the investigation
disturbing
expanded
and
beyond the home.
intentional.
Detective
The crime
Jensen
scene
organized
wasn't
a search
merely
team to canvass
chaotic.
the neighborhood
It
for
looked
witnesses or
deliberately
security footage.
staged.
Officers
A
went
framed
door to door,
family photo was
asking
shattered on the
neighbors if they
floor,
had seen
and
or heard
Angela's
anything
purse had been
unusual.
emptied,
One
its
neighbor mentioned
contents
hearing what she
strewn
thought
across
was a
the
loud
room.
argument the night
At first,
before, but
police
dismissed
considered
it
the
as a
possibility
domestic
of a
dispute.
robbery gone
Later
wrong.
that evening,
However,
a new lead emerged.
nothing of
A
significant
hiker at
value appeared
Lakeland
to be
Highland
missing,
Scrub Preserve
including
discovered another
Angela's
part of
jewelry
Angela's
and
dismembered body
electronics.
in a shallow grave.
In the kitchen,
Police quickly
investigators
expanded their
discovered
search,
more
recovering additional
disturbing
remains in nearby
evidence.
areas. The
Blood
discovery
had
confirmed their
pooled near
worst
the
fears.
sink, and a large
This was no
butcher
random
knife
act
was
of
missing from the
violence.
knife block.
Investigators worked late into
Forensic
the night,
experts
piecing together
carefully
clues.
collected
They were
fingerprints,
determined to find
shoe
Angela's
prints,
killer,
and hair
knowing they had
samples
a
for
brutal
further
and calculated
analysis.
murderer on
They
their
also
hands.
found
Forensic
a single
evidence collected
muddy
from the home,
footprint leading
and the
out
body
the
would
sliding
soon
glass
become key
door.
to solving the case.
By
The first-person
midday,
police
the scope
questioned
of
in
the
connection to
investigation
Angela Barrett's
widened
murder was her
beyond the
ex-husband,
home.
Michael Barrett.
Detective Jensen
At 40 years
coordinated
old,
a
Michael
search
was a
team to
well-known real
canvass the
estate agent in
neighborhood,
Lakeland, Florida.
looking for
He had
potential
built a
witnesses
reputation for being
or
charming and
security
persuasive,
footage that might
traits that
shed
had
light
served
on the
him well in
case.
selling homes.
Officers
But beneath his
went
polished
door to door,
exterior, Michael had a
questioning
darker
neighbors
side
about
that would soon come
anything
to light.
unusual they
Michael
might have
and
seen
Angela
or
had been
heard.
high school sweethearts, married
One
for
neighbor
nearly 20
recalled
years.
hearing what she
Angela
believed
had
was a
stood by
loud
him through
argument
thick
the
and
night
thin,
before,
even
but it
donating her
dismissed
kidney
it
to save
as
his life
just a
during his
domestic
battle with kidney
dispute.
failure.
Later
Despite
that
this
evening,
ultimate act
a
of
new
love,
lead
Michael
came
had
to
divorced
light.
her only 6 months
This
after
was
his
no
recovery,
random act of
citing
violence.
irreconcilable differences.
Investigators
He
worked
quickly
late
remarried
into
his
the night,
mistress,
carefully
Stephanie, a
piecing
yoga
together
instructor.
the evidence.
The
They
speed of
were
his new
determined
marriage
to
and his
find
cold dismissal
Angela's
of
killer,
Angela had left
aware
many
that
in
they
their
were
community
dealing with a
shocked.
brutal
When
and
police brought Michael in
calculated
for
murderer.
questioning on the evening of June
Forensic
9,
evidence gathered from
2015,
both the home
he
and the
appeared
body
calm and
soon
cooperative.
became crucial
He told
in
detectives
solving the
that he had been
case.
home with
The
Stephanie the
first
night Angela
person
was
police
last seen
questioned
alive.
in connection
We were
with
watching
Angela
Game of
Barrett's
Thrones,
murder
he claimed,
was her
mentioning that it
ex-husband,
was one of
Michael
their favorite
Barrett.
shows.
At
Investigators
40
noted
years
his cool
old,
demeanor, but
Michael was a
pressed him for more
prominent real
details
estate
about his
agent in
relationship with
Lakeland,
Angela.
Florida. Michael had built
admitted
a
their divorce had
reputation
been
as
bitter.
charming and
He described
persuasive,
Angela as a
qualities
crazy,
that made him
hysterical
successful
woman,
in real
and
estate.
claimed she had been
However,
obsessed with interfering
beneath
in
his
new
polished
marriage.
exterior,
Detectives found
there
this
was a
statement
darker
suspicious.
side that would soon
Considering
be
Angela's devout
exposed.
Christian faith and
He and
reputation
Angela
for
had been
kindness.
high school
Friends and
sweethearts
family had
and
described
had been
her as
married for
heartbroken
nearly
but
20
determined to
years.
rebuild her life.
Angela had
When
stood by
detectives
Michael
asked
through
Michael
every
about his
hardship,
financial
even
situation,
donating her
cracks began
kidney
to
to
show in
save
his
his
story.
life during his
Records
battle
revealed
with
that
kidney
Michael was
failure.
struggling with
Yet,
debt.
just
His real
6
estate
months
firm had
after his
underperformed in
recovery,
recent months,
Michael
and
filed
he
for
had taken out
divorce,
several loans.
citing
Police
irreconcilable
speculated that Angela's
differences.
death could
He
benefit
soon
Michael
remarried his
financially
mistress,
if he had
Stephanie,
taken out a
a
life
yoga
insurance
instructor.
policy on her
The
during their
rapid
marriage.
pace of Michael's new
Michael's calm
marriage and his
exterior
cold
began to
dismissal
waver
of
when
Angela
investigators
had
questioned
shocked
him about
many
his
in their
whereabouts more
community.
closely.
When police
He
brought
struggled
him
to
in for
provide
questioning
specific
on the
times and
evening of
became
June
defensive.
9, in
Detectives
2015,
also
he
confronted him
remained
with
calm and
evidence that Angela
cooperative.
had recently
He told
uncovered documents
detectives
linking
that
him
he
to
had
real
been
estate
with
fraud.
Stephanie the night
Though
Angela was
Michael
last
denied
seen
knowing
alive.
anything about Angela's
"We were
findings,
watching Game of
police were not
Thrones,"
convinced.
he claimed,
Forensic evidence
mentioning
from
it was
Angela's
one of their
home
favorite
added to the
shows.
mounting suspicion. Partial
Investigators
fingerprints on the
noted his
sliding glass
calm
door were a
demeanor,
potential
but
match
pressed him
Michael,
for more
though further
information about
analysis
his
was
relationship
required.
with Angela.
Additionally,
Michael
detectives discovered
acknowledged that
Michael
their
had
divorce had
texted
been
Angela
bitter.
multiple times
He
in the
described
week before her
Angela
death,
as a crazy,
asking to talk
hysterical
things
woman
out.
and claimed she
Though
had
Michael
become
maintained his
obsessed with
innocence,
interfering in his
behavior
new
during the
marriage.
interrogation raised red
Detectives
flags.
found this
Police
portrayal
released him for the
suspicious,
time
given
being, but
Angela's
kept him
strong
under close
Christian
surveillance.
faith and
The
her
pressure on
well-known
Michael was
reputation
growing,
for
and
kindness.
investigators knew he
Friends
had
and
secrets
family
he
had
wasn't
spoken
sharing.
of her
The second
as
person
heartbroken,
investigators
but
turned their
resolute
attention
in
to was
rebuilding her
Stephanie Barrett,
life. When detectives
Angela's
questioned Michael
ex-husband's
about
new
his
wife.
financial
At
situation,
35, Stephanie was a
inconsistencies
yoga
began to
instructor with a
surface.
loyal following
Records
at her
revealed
small
that
studio
he
in
was
downtown
struggling
Lakeland.
with debt.
Known
His
for
real
her
estate
striking
business
beauty
had been
and confident
underperforming,
demeanor,
and he
she
had taken
developed a
out several
reputation for
loans
being
to stay
magnetic and
afloat.
persuasive.
Police
Qualities
began
that
to
had drawn
suspect
Michael
that
Barrett to her
Angela's
in the first
death
place.
might have
Stephanie
financial
and
motives,
Michael's relationship had begun as
particularly
an affair
if
during
Michael
one of
had taken
Michael's
out a
real estate
life insurance
showings.
policy on her
Angela's
during their
friends had
marriage.
described the betrayal
Michael's
as devastating,
calm demeanor
especially given
started to
Angela's
crack
selfless
as
act of donating her
investigators
kidney
pressed
to
him
Michael
for more
just months
details
before.
about his
After
whereabouts.
Michael and
He
Angela
struggled to
divorced,
recall
Stephanie and
specific
Michael
times
married
and
quickly,
became
raising
noticeably
eyebrows in their
defensive.
close-knit
Detectives
community.
also confronted
Tensions
Michael with
between Angela and
evidence
Stephanie
that
had been
Angela
high
had
ever
recently
since.
discovered
Detectives
documents
called
linking him
Stephanie
to
in for
real estate
questioning on
fraud.
June 10,
While
2015.
Michael denied any
She arrived
knowledge
at
of
the
what
station
Angela
dressed
had
in
found,
athletic wear,
the police were
carrying a
not
sleek
convinced.
Lululemon bag and
Forensic
appeared composed.
evidence from
At
Angela's
first,
home
Stephanie answered
continued to
questions
build
calmly,
suspicion,
stating she had
further
no ill will
deepening the
toward Angela
investigators'
despite
doubts
their
about his
differences.
innocence.
She claimed that Angela
Police
was
released
kinda hot,
Michael
but
for the
unable
time
to move
being,
on from her
but kept
divorce
him
with
under
Michael.
tight surveillance.
Police asked
The pressure
Stephanie
on him
about
was
her
mounting,
whereabouts on
and
the evening of
investigators
June
sensed
7th,
he was
the
withholding
night
something
Angela was
important.
last seen alive.
The focus soon
Stephanie
shifted to the
mirrored Michael's
second
statement,
person of
claiming they
interest,
had been watching Game of
Stephanie
Thrones
Barrett.
alone. She
Stephanie
added that they'd
Barrett,
ordered takeout
Angela's
from a local
ex-husband's
restaurant,
new
Beef
wife, was
O'Brady's, to
35
support
years
her
old and
alibi.
worked as a yoga
Investigators
instructor at a
noted her
small
confidence,
studio
but pressed
in
her for more
downtown
details.
Lakeland, where
Stephanie's
she had built
relationship
a
with Angela
dedicated
quickly became
following.
a focal
Known
point
for
of the
her
interview.
striking
2
looks
days
and
before
confident
Angela's murder,
personality,
Stephanie had been
she had a
seen arguing with
magnetic
her at a
presence
Publix
that had
grocery
originally drawn Michael
A store
Barrett to
employee
her.
later confirmed that the two women had a
Stephanie
heated
and
exchange
Michael's
in the produce
relationship
section.
had started
When
as
asked
an
about this
affair
confrontation,
during one of his real
Stephanie
estate
admitted
showings.
that Angela had accused her of ruining her
Angela's
marriage.
friends
She
later
was
described the
emotional and
betrayal
upset, Stephanie
as deeply
explained,
hurtful,
but I didn't take it
particularly
personally.
given that Angela had
Investigators
donated her
then
kidney to
confronted
Michael
Stephanie with
just
Angela's
months
recent journal
earlier.
entries, which suggested
After the
Angela had
divorce,
uncovered
Stephanie
financial
and
wrongdoing
Michael's quick
involving both
marriage
Michael and
raised
Stephanie.
eyebrows in their
Angela
tight-knit
believed the
community.
couple had been laundering money
Tensions
through
between
Stephanie's yoga
Angela and
studio,
Stephanie
raising a
had
possible
been
motive
high
for
ever
wanting
since
Angela
the
silenced.
affair.
Stephanie
On
denied
June
any
10,
involvement in financial
2015,
crimes and
detectives
insisted
brought
Angela's
Stephanie in
suspicions
for
were
questioning.
baseless.
She
Stephanie's
arrived at the
composure began
station
to
dressed
crack
in
when
athletic
detectives asked
wear,
why her car
carrying
had
a
been spotted
stylish
near Angela's home
Lululemon
the night of
bag,
the
and
murder.
appeared
She
calm
became
and
defensive,
collected.
claiming she had loaned
At
her car
first,
to a friend.
Stephanie answered the questions calmly,
However, she couldn't provide a
insisting
name
she
or
held
any
no
proof of
ill
this
will
claim.
toward Angela,
As the interview
despite
went
their
on,
past
Stephanie's
conflicts.
once confident
She
tone
remarked
shifted
that
to
Angela
frustration.
was
She accused
kinda
the
hot,
detectives of targeting
but
her
struggled to
unfairly
move
and
on
insisted
from
she
her
had nothing
divorce
to
with
hide.
Michael. When the police
Despite her
asked her about
denials,
her whereabouts on the evening of
inconsistencies
June
and the
7th,
tension between
the
her
night
and
Angela was
placed her
last seen
firmly on the
alive,
suspect list.
Stephanie
Stephanie
demeanor
was released
shifted
after hours
slightly.
of questioning, but
Stephanie's
remained under
account
scrutiny.
matched Michael's,
Investigators
stating they
believed
had
there was
spent
more
the
to her
evening
story
watching
and were
Game of
determined to
Thrones
uncover
at
the
home.
truth. On June
She also
13,
mentioned that they'd
2015,
ordered
a
takeout from a
scorching
local
Saturday in
spot,
Lakeland, Florida.
Beef
A significant
O'Brady's,
twist in
to help
Angela
support
Barrett's
her
case
alibi.
emerged. The temperature had
While
soared past
investigators
90
noted
degrees,
her calm and
thunderstorms
confident
loomed on the
demeanor,
horizon.
they pressed her for more
That afternoon,
specific
a local hiker
details.
named Kevin Ramirez
Stephanie's
stumbled upon
strange
something unusual
relationship
in a
with
wooded area
Angela
off State
quickly
Road
became a
33.
key
While
point of
walking
the
his
investigation.
Labrador, Marcel J.
2
Abraham,
days before
Kevin
Angela's
noticed a
murder,
leather-bound journal
Stephanie
partially
had been
buried
seen
near a tree.
arguing with her at a
Curious, he
Publix
picked it up and
grocery
opened it.
store.
The
The
first
store
page bore
employee later
Angela Barrett's
confirmed
name.
that the confrontation
Kevin
had been
immediately
heated,
contacted the
taking
Polk
place
County
in the
Sheriff's
produce
Office.
section.
Officers arrived quickly,
When asked about the
recognizing the
confrontation,
journal's potential
Stephanie
importance.
acknowledged that
Inside,
Angela
they
had
discovered
accused her
pages
of
filled with
ruining her
Angela's
marriage.
detailed notes
She
about
described
Michael and
Angela
Stephanie
as
Barrett.
being emotional
Angela had
and upset,
suspected the couple
but
of
claimed
involvement
she
in
didn't
illegal
take it
activities,
personally.
including real estate
Investigators
fraud and
then
money laundering.
confronted
She had
Stephanie
even
with
written about
Angela's
fearing for
recent
her safety
journal
after
entries,
confronting them.
which indicated
Detective Carla
that Angela
Jensen,
had
the lead
uncovered
investigator,
financial
personally examined
misconduct
the journal.
involving both
Its
Michael
contents
and
shed light on
Stephanie.
Angela's growing
Angela had
awareness of
believed
Michael
that
and
the
Stephanie's
couple was
alleged
laundering
crimes.
money
One
through
entry,
Stephanie's yoga
dated
studio,
just 2
which
weeks
raised a
before her
potential
murder,
motive
revealed
for
Angela's
wanting her
intent to take the
silenced.
evidence to authorities.
Stephanie
This
vehemently
discovery
denied
suggested
any
that her
involvement
murder
in
could have been an
financial
attempt to
crimes
silence her.
and claimed
The journal's
Angela's
existence raised
suspicions were
questions. Why
unfounded.
had it been buried in
However,
the
her
woods? Police
composure
theorized that
began
the
to
killer might
falter
have
when
panicked,
detectives
trying to
confronted her
dispose of
with the fact that her
evidence,
car
but
had been
failed to hide
spotted
it
near
completely.
Angela's home
The
on the
location,
night of the
about
murder.
12 miles from Angela's
Stephanie
home,
grew
was
defensive,
remote enough to avoid
insisting that
immediate
she had
detection,
loaned her
but
car
not
to a
well
friend
hidden.
that evening.
Detective
However, when
Jensen
pressed,
ordered a thorough
she couldn't
search of the
provide a
area where the
name
journal
or
was
any
found.
evidence to support
Officers
her
combed
story.
through the woods and uncovered additional
As the
clues.
interview
A single
continued,
latex glove
her
and a receipt
previously
from a hardware
confident
store
tone
dated
began
June
to
6th,
shift,
the day before
replaced by
Angela's
visible
disappearance.
frustration.
The receipt listed
She
items
accused
such
the
as duct tape
detectives
and
of
garbage
unfairly
bags, which
targeting her
investigators believed
and
might be
insisted
linked to
she
the
had
crime.
nothing to hide.
This new evidence
Despite
shifted
her
the
denials,
investigation into high
the
gear.
inconsistencies
Detectives
in her
began
story
re-examining
and the
statements made by
strained
both Michael
relationship
and
with
Stephanie
Angela
Barrett,
kept her
looking for
firmly on the
inconsistencies.
suspect
The
list.
journal not only pointed to
After
a possible
hours
motive,
of questioning,
but also confirmed
Stephanie
Angela
was
had been
released,
actively working
but she
to expose
remained
their
under
wrongdoing.
close scrutiny.
The discovery of
Investigators
Angela's journal
felt
marked
there
a
was
turning
more
point
to
in the
Stephanie's
case.
story
For police,
and were
it wasn't just a
determined to
piece of
uncover
evidence.
the truth.
It was Angela's voice,
On June
offering
13,
clues from beyond the grave.
2015,
As the
a
investigation
blistering
deepened,
Saturday
the
in
police
Lakeland,
turned their
Florida,
focus to an
a
unexpected
key
suspect.
development in Angela
Detective
Barrett's
Carla
case
Jensen,
emerged.
42,
The
the
temperature
lead
had climbed
investigator on
past
Angela
90
Barrett's case.
degrees,
Carla
and
was a 15-year
thunderstorms
veteran of
threatened
the
to
Polk County
break in the
Sheriff's Office.
distance.
Known for her
That
sharp instincts
afternoon,
and
a
no-nonsense
local
attitude.
hiker named
Her
Kevin
reputation as a
Ramirez
dedicated
was walking his
detective who could solve
Labrador,
even the toughest
Marcel
cases
J.
made her a trusted
Abraham,
figure
in a
law
wooded
enforcement
area
circles.
off State Road
However, her
33
professional
when he
demeanor
noticed
masked a
something
personal
unusual.
secret that would soon unravel her
Partially buried
credibility.
near a tree
On June 14,
was a leather-bound
2015,
journal.
detectives working
Intrigued,
alongside Carla discovered
Kevin
that she
picked
had a
it up
personal
and
connection
opened
to
it.
Michael Barrett.
The first page of the
Phone
journal
records
had
revealed
Angela
frequent
Barrett's
late-night
name
calls
written on
between
it.
the two dating back several months.
Realizing the
Further
significance,
investigation uncovered
Kevin
a history of
immediately
romantic involvement.
contacted the Polk
Carla and
County
Michael had
Sheriff's
been having an
Office.
affair, one that began
Officers
after his
arrived
divorce from
promptly,
Angela, but
recognizing
before
that the
his marriage to
journal
Stephanie.
could be a
This
crucial
revelation
piece of
sent
evidence in the
shockwaves through the
case.
department.
Inside,
Carla was
the
removed from the case
officers found
immediately,
pages
and an internal
filled with
investigation was
Angela's
launched to
detailed
determine
notes
if she had
about Michael
compromised the
and Stephanie
investigation.
Barrett.
Her colleagues,
Angela had
many of
suspected the
whom had
couple of
admired her
being
work,
involved
were
in
stunned.
illegal
Sheriff
activities,
Thomas Graves
including
called it
real
a
estate
deeply
fraud and
disappointing
money
turn of
laundering.
events.
She
When
had even
questioned
written
about her
about her
relationship
growing
with Michael,
fear for
Carla
her
initially
safety
denied any
after
wrongdoing.
confronting them about her
She claimed that her
suspicions.
personal life had no bearing
Detective
on the
Carla
investigation,
Jensen,
and
the
that she had
lead
followed all
investigator,
proper procedures.
personally examined the
However,
journal. The
investigators
contents
uncovered troubling
provided
details.
crucial
For
insight
example,
into
key pieces of
Angela's
evidence,
increasing
including
awareness
Angela's journal,
of
had
Michael
been
and
delayed in
Stephanie's
reaching
alleged
forensic analysts,
criminal
and Carla
activities.
had dismissed early
One
suspicions
entry,
about Michael
dated
as
just
baseless.
2 weeks before her
Confronted with
murder,
these inconsistencies,
revealed Angela's
Carla
intention
admitted
to
to
bring
withholding
the evidence to
but
the
insisted
authorities.
she had not been
This
involved in
discovery
Angela's murder.
suggested
She claimed
that
her
Angela's
actions were meant
murder
to
may
protect
have
Michael
been an
from what she
attempt to
believed were
silence her.
unfounded accusations.
The journal's presence
Her
in the woods
explanation did little to
raised
satisfy
important
investigators,
questions.
who now
Why
viewed her as
had
a
it been
suspect.
buried there?
Carla's colleagues
Police
interrogated her over
theorized that the
several
killer,
days,
in a moment
seeking
of
answers
panic,
about her role in
had
the
tried
case.
to
Her
dispose of the
responses were
incriminating
calm,
evidence,
defensive.
but
She
failed to
maintained her
completely
innocence,
hide it.
asserting that
The
her
location,
relationship with Michael
about
had
12
ended months
miles from
earlier,
Angela's
and
home,
that she had no
was
knowledge
remote
of
enough
Angela's
to
death.
avoid immediate
Despite
detection,
her claims,
but not well
circumstantial evidence
concealed.
continued to pile
Detective Jensen
Carla had been
instructed
in
a
contact
thorough
with
search of
Michael
the
day
area
before
where the
Angela's
journal had been
disappearance,
found.
and GPS data
Officers
placed her near
scoured the
wooded
woods
area
and
where Angela's
uncovered
journal
more
was later
clues
found.
that seemed to tie
Investigators
back
also
to the
uncovered
case.
surveillance footage
Among
from
the
a
items
local Home
discovered
Depot
was a
showing
single
Carla purchasing
latex
duct tape
glove
and garbage
and a
bags.
receipt from a
Items
hardware
similar to
store
those listed on
dated
the
June
receipt found near
6th,
the journal.
the day before
As the
Angela's
evidence against her
disappearance.
mounted,
The
Carla's story
receipt
began
listed
to crumble.
items like
Her
duct
once
tape
sterling reputation
and garbage
was now
bags,
overshadowed by
which
suspicion.
investigators believed could
Investigators
be
believed
linked
that
to
her
the
involvement
crime.
with Michael had clouded
This
her
new
judgment,
evidence
leading
sent
her
the
to tamper with the
investigation
case
into
and
high
potentially play a
gear,
direct role in
suggesting
covering
that
up
the
crime.
murder may have
The
been carefully
investigation into Carla
planned.
marked a dramatic twist
Detectives
in
started
Angela Barrett's
reviewing the
case,
statements made
further
by Michael
complicating an
and
already
Stephanie
tangled
Barrett,
web of betrayal
searching for
and
any
deceit.
contradictions.
On June 16,
The
2015,
journal not
the
only
Lakeland
revealed a
Police
potential
Department made a
motive,
breakthrough
but
in
also
Angela Barrett's
confirmed that
murder case.
Angela had been
New
trying to
evidence
uncover their
uncovered during
illegal
a detailed
activities.
forensic analysis
Finding
pointed directly
Angela's
to
journal
Stephanie Barrett,
became a
Michael
crucial
Barrett's
breakthrough
second
in the
wife and Angela's
investigation.
former romantic
For the
rival.
police, the journal
Investigators
wasn't just
determined that
evidence,
Stephanie had
it was
both the
Angela's
motive and means
voice,
to commit commit the
offering
heinous
crucial
crime,
clues from
and her
beyond the
carefully
grave.
crafted alibi began to fall
As the
apart under
investigation
closer
progressed,
scrutiny.
the focus
Stephanie,
shifted to an
35,
unexpected
a local yoga
suspect.
instructor and owner
Detective
of Sunset
Carla
Serenity
Jensen,
Yoga Studio,
42,
had initially
the lead
portrayed herself
investigator
as a
on the
grieving
case.
stepmother figure,
Carla
eager to
Jensen was a
cooperate
seasoned
with authorities.
15-year veteran
However,
of the Polk County
investigators had
Sheriff's
already
Office,
suspected her
known
due
for
to
her
volatile
sharp
relationship
instincts
with
and
Angela.
no-nonsense
Witnesses
approach.
reported a heated
Her
argument
reputation
between
as a
the two women in
dedicated
a Publix
detective
grocery
who
store
could
just
crack
days
even the
before
most
Angela's
challenging
murder.
cases
Stephanie
earned
was
her the
overheard
respect
saying,
of her peers.
"You should have stayed the bleep out of
However,
our lives.
beneath her
Now,
professional
you'll bleeping
exterior,
regret
she
it."
carried a
The
personal
turning point
secret
in the
that would
investigation
soon
came
threaten
when
to
forensic
undermine her
technicians
credibility.
examined Angela's remains
On
more
June
thoroughly.
14,
Fibers from a rug found at
2015,
Stephanie's home matched
detectives
fibers
working
found on
with
Angela's
Carla
dismembered
discovered a
body.
personal connection
Additionally, blood
between
spatter
her and
evidence
Michael
discovered in
Barrett.
Stephanie's garage was
Phone records
confirmed to be
revealed
Angela's
multiple
through
late-night
DNA
calls
testing.
between the two,
Investigators also
dating back
retrieved
several
Angela's
months.
journal, which had been
As the
reported
investigation
missing.
deepened,
The journal
it
contained
became
damning notes
clear
about
that
Michael
their
and Stephanie's
relationship
alleged
went
financial
beyond
crimes,
professional,
providing a potential motive
uncovering
for
a
silencing
history
Angela.
of romantic
Detectives pieced
involvement.
together a timeline
Carla
using
and
phone
Michael
records,
had been
surveillance
having an
footage,
affair
and
that
witness
started
statements.
after
They
his
concluded
divorce
that
from
Stephanie
Angela.
lured Angela to her
But
home under
before
the
his
pretense of
marriage to
reconciliation
Stephanie,
on the evening of June
this
7.
revelation
Once
sent
there, Stephanie
shockwaves
shot
through the
Angela multiple
department.
times with a
Carla
handgun
was
registered
immediately
under
removed
Michael's
from
name.
the case,
Afterwards,
and an
Stephanie
internal
dismembered
investigation
Angela's
was
body
launched to
using tools
determine
purchased from a local
whether
Lowe's.
she had
Surveillance
compromised
footage
the
showed
integrity of
Stephanie
the
at the store on June
investigation.
9,
Her
buying a saw,
colleagues, many of
heavy-duty
whom
garbage
had
bags,
respected her work,
and cleaning
were
supplies.
shocked by the
On the
revelation.
morning of June 17,
Sheriff Thomas Graves
police
called it
executed
a
a
deeply
warrant to arrest
disappointing turn of
Stephanie at her yoga
events.
studio during
When
an early
questioned
class.
about her relationship
Officers
with
described her
Michael,
reaction as
Carla
a mix of shock
initially
and
denied
anger.
any
She
misconduct
initially
or
protested,
involvement
claiming
in
she
the
was
case's
innocent and being
mishandling.
framed by
Carla
jealous people.
insisted
Her
that her
students
personal
looked on
life
in
had no
disbelief as she
influence
was
on the
escorted out in
investigation
handcuffs.
and that she had
Michael
adhered to
Barrett, who
all
had been
proper
under scrutiny as
procedures.
well, was
However,
questioned about his
further
wife's
investigation
involvement. He
revealed
denied
troubling
any knowledge of
discrepancies.
Stephanie's actions
Key pieces
and
of
insisted
evidence,
he had no
such
part
as
in
Angela's
murder.
journal, had been delayed in
However,
reaching
investigators
forensic
found his
analysts,
denial
and
suspicious,
Carla had
given his
dismissed
connection
initial
to the case
suspicions
and
about
the couple's
Michael as
criminal
unfounded,
activities.
raising
Angela's family
concerns about her
expressed relief,
handling
but
of the
also
case.
deep sorrow upon
Faced
hearing
with
of
the
Stephanie's
mounting
arrest.
evidence, Carla
Angela's
admitted
brother,
to
Pastor
withholding key
William
pieces
Carter,
of
told local
evidence,
reporters,
but maintained
"Justice
that
is
she had
beginning,
not
but
been
nothing will bring
involved
my
in
sister
Angela's
back.
murder.
She
She
deserved
explained
so
that
much
she
better."
had acted to
The arrest
protect
of
Michael,
Stephanie Barrett
believing
marked
the
a pivotal
accusations
moment in the
against him
case.
were
The
baseless.
evidence against
However,
her was
her explanation
overwhelming,
did little to
and police
convince
were confident they
investigators,
had found
who now
Angela
considered
Barrett's
her
killer.
a suspect
The trial
in the
of Stephanie
case.
Barrett
Carla
began
was
in early March
interrogated by her
2017,
colleagues over
more than
several
a year
days
after
as they
Angela
sought
Barrett's brother
clarity
murder.
on her
The
involvement
courtroom
in the
was filled
case.
with Angela's
Throughout
family,
the
friends, and the
questioning,
media,
her responses
all
were
eager to see
calm
justice
but
served for the
defensive.
kind-hearted nurse,
She continued
whose
to
life had been
assert her
tragically cut
innocence,
short.
claiming that
The
her
case had gained
relationship with
widespread
Michael had
attention,
ended months
not only
before
because of the
Angela's
shocking
death,
crime, but
and
also
that she
due to
had
the
no
involvement
knowledge of what had
Stephanie's
happened to
high-profile
Angela.
yoga business
As the
and
evidence
alleged
against her
money-laundering
grew,
activities that had been
Carla's
uncovered
story
during the
began to
investigation.
unravel.
The
Her once
prosecution, led
impeccable
by State Attorney
reputation
Greg
was now
Landers, presented a
overshadowed by
compelling
mounting
case.
suspicion.
Landers, 47,
Investigators
known
believed
for
that
his
her
tough
personal
stance on
involvement
violent
with
crimes,
Michael had
meticulously
compromised
laid out
her
the
judgment,
evidence against
leading
Steph.
her to
He
interfere with the
highlighted the
case
damning
and
forensic
possibly
evidence. Blood
play a
traces
direct
found in
role in
Stephanie's
covering up
garage and
the
fibers
crime.
from her home on Angela's remains.
The
He
investigation
also
into
emphasized
Carla marked
Angela's
a
journal,
dramatic
which
turn
contained
in Angela
incriminating
Barrett's
details about
case,
Michael and
adding
Stephanie's
another
illegal
layer to an
activities,
already complex
including their
web
involvement
of
in a real
betrayal
estate fraud
and
scheme.
deceit.
This was
On
not
June
just a crime
16,
of passion.
2015,
This was a
the Lakeland
calculated,
Police Department
premeditated
made a
murder,
crucial
Landers
breakthrough.
told the jury.
New
He
evidence
argued that
uncovered through a
Stephanie's fear
thorough
of being
forensic
exposed for her
analysis
role in the
pointed
fraud drove her
directly
to
to
kill
Stephanie
Angela in
Barrett,
cold blood.
Michael Barrett's
In
second
defense
wife
of Stephanie,
and
her
Angela's
attorney,
former
43-year-old
romantic
Lauren
rival.
Davis,
Investigators
argued that the
quickly
evidence
determined
against her
that
was
Stephanie had both the
circumstantial and that
motive
the
and the
prosecution's
means to
case
commit
was
the
based on
crime.
assumptions.
As they dug
Davis,
deeper,
a
her
seasoned criminal
carefully
defense lawyer
constructed
known for her
alibi
calm
began
demeanor
to
in court,
unravel.
suggested that
Stephanie,
someone else could have
35,
planted the
a
evidence
local
to frame
yoga
Stephanie.
instructor
She
and
also
owner
pointed
of
out that no
Sunset
one had seen
Serenity Yoga
Stephanie actually
Studio,
commit the
had
murder,
initially
and there were
presented
gaps in the
herself as a
timeline that
grieving
left room for doubt.
stepmother,
Davis
eager to
portrayed her
cooperate
client
with
as a
the
woman under immense
authorities.
pressure, caught in
However,
a toxic
her history of
relationship
tension with
Michael,
Angela
and
raised
claimed that
red
Stephanie's
flags for
behavior
investigators,
following Angela's
who had
death was
long
not
suspected her
consistent with that of a
involvement.
guilty person. The jury
Witnesses
deliberated
recalled
for
a
2 days
tense
before returning with a
confrontation
verdict.
between Angela
On March
and Stephanie
22,
at a Publix grocery
2017,
store
Stephanie Barrett
just
was found
days
guilty
before
of
Angela's
first-degree
death.
murder,
During
dismemberment
the
of a
argument,
corpse, and tampering
Stephanie
with
was
evidence.
heard
The
saying,
courtroom fell
"You
silent
should have
as the verdict
stayed
was
out
read
of our
aloud,
lives.
and Angela's family
Now you're
members
going
wiped
to
away
regret
tears of
it."
relief.
Investigators
During the
also
sentencing
recovered
phase, the
Angela's
prosecution
missing
asked for the
journal,
maximum
which
penalty.
contained
Life
troubling
prison
notes
without
about
the
Michael and
possibility of
Stephanie's
parole.
suspected
Landers
financial
reminded the court
crimes.
that Angela had
These
been
entries
selfless in
provided
life,
a
donating a
potential
kidney to
motive
save
for
Michael, only
Angela's
to be
murder.
betrayed and brutally
Using
murdered.
phone records,
Stephanie
Stephanie
Barrett
was
took the
able to
life of
piece
a woman
together
who
a
would have given
detailed
anything to
timeline
help
of
others, he
events
said.
leading up to
Stephanie's
her
defense
death.
attorney, Lauren Davis,
Investigators
begged for
also
leniency,
recovered
citing
Angela's
her
missing
client's
journal,
troubled
which
relationship and the
contained
pressures she
troubling
faced
notes
in her
about
personal
Michael and
life.
Stephanie's suspected
However,
financial
the
crimes.
judge who presided over
These
the case
entries
stated that
provided
the
a
brutality of the
potential
crime left
motive
no
for
room for
Angela's
mercy.
murder.
On March
Using
30,
phone records,
2017,
surveillance
Stephanie was
footage,
sentenced to life
and
in
witness
prison without the
testimonies,
possibility of
detectives
parole.
were able to piece
Angela's
together a
family expressed
detailed
mixed
timeline of
emotions following the
events
sentence.
leading up
While
to
they
her
were
death.
relieved that justice had
On
been
the
served,
morning of June
they could not shake the
17th,
pain of
police
losing
arrived
Angela
at
in such a
Stephanie's
horrific
yoga
way.
studio
After
with
Stephanie
an
Barrett's
arrest warrant,
sentencing in March
just as she was
2017,
beginning an early
the lives
class.
of those involved
According
in the
to
case continued
officers,
to unfold
her
in
reaction was a
unexpected
mix of
ways.
shock
For
and
Stephanie,
anger.
life in prison
She
became a harsh
immediately
reality.
protested,
The Florida
insisting
Department
she
of
was
Corrections
innocent
placed her in
and
a
claiming the
high-security
jealous
facility due to the
individuals
brutal nature
were
of her
trying to
crime.
frame her.
She was
Her
sentenced to
students
life without
watched
the
in
possibility of
disbelief
parole
as
for the
Stephanie was
murder of
led out
Angela
of the
Barrett,
studio
and she
in
quickly learned that prison
handcuffs.
life would be far different
Meanwhile,
from the comfortable
Michael
lifestyle she had
Barrett,
once known
who
as
had
a yoga
also been
instructor.
under suspicion,
In
was
interviews, she
questioned about
expressed
his
remorse
wife's
for what she had
involvement.
done, but
He
many believed
denied
that her
knowing
remorse was
anything
more
about
about her
Stephanie's
lost freedom than her
actions
victim.
and maintained that he had
Meanwhile,
no
Michael
part
Barrett,
in Angela's murder.
ex-husband and
However,
Stephanie's former
investigators
lover, found his
found
life
Michael's
turning in a new
denial
direction.
suspicious,
In the months following the
especially
trial,
considering
Michael
his
continued to
close
struggle with his
connection to the
financial
case
troubles.
and the
Despite
couple's
his charming persona
suspected
and his
criminal
role as a real
activities.
estate agent, his business
While
ventures had
Angela's
failed,
family
and he
felt
was
a sense
faced
of
with mounting
relief
debts.
following
In a move
Stephanie's
that shocked
arrest,
many,
they
Michael
were
filed for
also
divorce from
filled with
Stephanie in
sorrow.
2018 while
Angela's
she was still
brother,
serving her prison
Pastor
sentence.
William Carter,
Reports indicated
spoke
that
to
Michael
local
had been in a
reporters
romantic
saying
relationship with
justice is
Detective
starting
Carla
to take
Jensen,
shape,
the lead
but it won't
investigator
bring
on
my
Angela's
sister
murder
back.
case.
She
It was
deserves
revealed
so
that Carla
much
had
better.
secretly been involved with Michael
The
during
arrest
the
of Stephanie Barrett
though her
marked
role in
a
the case had
crucial
raised
turning
serious
point
ethical
in the
concerns.
case.
After
With
his
the
divorce from
evidence
Stephanie,
stacked
Michael
against
married
her,
Carla in a
police
private
were
ceremony in
confident
late
they had
2018.
found Angela
This union
Barrett's
raised
killer.
eyebrows as Carla's
The
involvement
trial
in the
of
case,
Stephanie
and the
Barrett
fact that she had
began in
withheld
early
evidence
March
during the investigation
2017,
led to questions
more than a
about her
year after
professional
Angela's
integrity.
brutal
However,
murder.
despite
The
public
courtroom was
scrutiny,
packed with
Carla
Angela's
stood by her
family,
actions,
friends, and the
claiming
media,
that her
all
relationship with
waiting for
Michael was
justice
based
to be
on
served
love,
for the
and that she
kind-hearted
had no
nurse
involvement
whose
in
life had been
Angela's death
senselessly
beyond her
taken.
role as a
The
detective.
case had drawn significant
The couple moved
attention,
to a small
not only
suburban
because of the
home in
shocking
Lakeland,
nature of
Florida,
the crime,
where they
but
attempted to live a
also due
quiet
to the
life away
involvement
from
of
the media
Stephanie's
spotlight.
well-known
The
yoga
Barrett family,
studio
still
and the
reeling from the
alleged
loss of
money
Angela,
laundering scheme
had
uncovered
mixed
during the
feelings about the fates
investigation.
of Michael, Carla,
Led by
and
State
Stephanie.
Attorney Greg
Angela's
Landers,
brother, Pastor
presented
William
a strong
Carter,
and
stated in an
compelling
interview,
case.
Michael may
Greg
have moved on,
Landers,
but
47,
for us, it's a
a
daily
prosecutor
struggle.
known for his
Angela's death left a
no-nonsense
hole that
approach
no
to
one
violent
can fill.
crimes,
Despite their
carefully
grief,
presented
the
the
family
case
found some
against
peace in knowing that
Stephanie.
justice had
He
been
focused
served
on
for
the key
Angela,
forensic
even if the
evidence,
aftermath
blood
continued to
traces
stir up
discovered
painful
in
memories.
Stephanie's garage, and fibers from her home that matched those found on Angela's body. Landers also highlighted Angela's journal, which contained detailed notes implicated both Stephanie and her husband Michael in a real estate fraud scheme and other illegal activities. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a carefully planned, premeditated murder, Landers told the jury. He argued that Stephanie's desperation to keep her involvement in the fraud from being exposed led her to kill Angela without hesitation or remorse. Stephanie's defense attorney, 43-year-old Lauren Davis, countered that the evidence against her client was purely circumstantial and largely based on assumptions. Known for her composed presence in court, Davis suggested that the evidence could have been planted by someone else to frame Stephanie. She also emphasized the lack of direct witnesses to the murder and pointed out inconsistencies in the timeline that left room for reasonable doubt. Davis painted her client Stephanie as a woman who had been trapped in a toxic relationship with Michael under intense pressure and suggested that her actions after Angela's death didn't reflect guilt. After 2 days of deliberation, the jury reached their decision. On March 22, 2017, Stephanie Barrett was convicted of first-degree murder, dismemberment of a body, and tampering with evidence. The courtroom was still as the verdict was announced, and Angela's family members quietly wept with a mix of grief and relief. During the sentencing phase, the prosecution sought the maximum penalty, life in prison without the chance of parole. State Attorney Greg Landers reminded the court of Angela's profound generosity, how she had donated her kidney to save Michael's life, only to be betrayed and cruelly murdered in return. Stephanie Barrett took the life of a woman who would have given anything to help others, Landers argued, his voice steady but filled with emotion. In contrast, defense attorney Lauren Davis pleaded for mercy, highlighting the turmoil in Stephanie's personal life and the immense pressure from her troubled marriage. But the judge, after considering all the facts, made it clear that the savagery of the crime left no space for leniency. This was not a crime of desperation or emotional instability. This was a cold, calculated act of violence, the judge said, sentencing Stephanie to life without parole. On March 30, 2017, Stephanie Barrett was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Angela's family, though relieved that justice had been served, struggled with the overwhelming pain of her senseless death. While they had fought for justice, nothing could ease the emptiness left by Angela's loss. Her brother, Pastor William Carter, spoke to the press afterward, saying, "No sentence can bring Angela back, but at least we know the truth is out, and she will be remembered for the love she gave."